Okay, so the next video then, this is just going to cover basic formulas and functions, really the heart of what spreadsheets are all about, which is being able to do calculations automatically. Right, so if I click on this cell here then, I'm just going to run through something that I see some students do, okay, and then hopefully just give you a gist about why we do things in a certain way when we use spreadsheets. So in this example here, we want to work out how much Alice needs to be charged. What I see some students do is they type in equals, and equals is a really important thing to make a mental note of, because every formula, every function must begin with an equals sign. But what I see some students do is this, so they type in 3 times 4, okay, 3 times £4, which is great because it does give you the answer 12, which is right, but it isn't how you should do or write that formula in spreadsheets. And the reason for that is, well, what happens if Alice later comes back in, updates that up to 4? Well, that hasn't automatically changed, that still says 12. Okay, so one important thing to make sure that you always do when using spreadsheets is use the cell reference instead of typing in the calculation. And now what do I mean by cell reference? Well, if I just take out that equals a second, and you'll be familiar with this hopefully from high school, but every cell has a unique address. So for example, this one, H4. Okay, so if I go back to this calculation here, rather than me typing in 4 times £4, what I'm going to do is start with my equals sign. Quite a nifty way, rather than having to type it in, is just to select it using the mouse. So I'm just going to click on, left click on the 4, and then because I want to do a times, I'm going to use the star sign up there, and then I'm going to click on the second cell that I need to include in this calculation, and I'll click that option there and press enter. Okay, and you can also see there that because I've used that cell and it knows that cell is in currency format, it's automatically worked out that that should also be in currency too, so £16 there. So they're basic formulas that you can use. Just a quick run through the different signs. So that's the times sign, that one is divide, okay, which obviously I don't want to do there. We've got plus for adding them together, and minus. Okay, so that's a bit of a recap. The one to remember obviously is the divide one, and the star for multiply as well. So I'm just going to put that back to the star for multiply for now. Okay. Another really neat feature of spreadsheets, and this is really useful and again saves you a lot of time while there's such benefit to people, is this little option here, which is called replication, or it's called autofill. And basically what this saves me is time. So rather than me having to go into each of these cells, type in equals, click on that, type times on the keyboard, click on that, press enter, and repeat and repeat and repeat. What I can do instead is, because I've used this cell, this calculation, and I've put in the references up there, I can use the autofill handle or the replicate button to drag this formula down into each of these cells. Okay, and this is where Microsoft Excel is really clever, because it knows that because I've moved it down a row, it's no longer E4 times F4. It's automatically worked out that for this particular cell, logically it should be E5 times F5. Okay, and that works for pretty much all formulas. The only thing you've got to make sure of, obviously, is that the calculations are always using the same cells, and they're in parallel with each other down the spreadsheet. Okay, so that's the replicate / autofill handle. That's basic formulas done. Just moving on to simple functions as well. So simple functions are up here, and they're represented by this sigma sign up here. And if you click on it, you can see you've got options there to do sum, average, count numbers, max, min, etc. Okay, so in this cell here, I want to calculate the grand total of the items that have been sold. Okay, now one common mistake I see that students do sometimes is they type in equals, which is great, that's the starting point, but what they do is they then click on that cell, They then go here and they type on that cell. They then press plus again, and they do it one at a time like that until they've gone through the whole spreadsheet and wound up at a grand total, okay, which is right and it works, but there's a much more quicker way of doing it, okay, and that's where the function button comes in. So if I just start that again and click off and click back on, I'm going to go up to my function button here. Sum is the one I want. Sum basically does the same job, it adds them all up. So I click that option there. You'll notice I've now got this formula come up. It's saying sum, and it's asking me, well, what do you want to add up? What do you want to add up? So very simply, all I need to go over here and say, well, I want to add up these cells. And if I just left click and hold my left button mouse down and drag, you can see I've highlighted the cells there that I want to add up. And you can see that over here in the formula, it's saying G4, the colon sign basically means 2, G8. So basically add up everything between G4 and G8. If I press enter on my keyboard, voila, it's worked out the total there. Okay, it's also a similar thing for average. So just one more demonstration. So average, another common function. If I click on average, well, there you can see default Excel's tried to be a bit clever again. It's saying that I want to average that, and it's automatically highlighted that cell for me. Well, actually, I don't want to get the average of K9. I want to get the average of these figures over here. So again, just left click, highlight the group of figures that you want to get the average from, and then just press enter. Okay, and that's how you use basic functions in a spreadsheet.